Oh my goodness gracious! Oh my goodness gracious! It's here, folks. This is the Bee. This is the Bee episode. It's going to happen this episode. We're going to get the Bee. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me for the least optimized playthrough of Borderlands 2 you will ever see. Guaranteed. It is the least optimized playthrough of Borderlands 2 in the entire world. I guarantee it. There is no other gameplay that is less optimized than this. For those who don't know, this is hands-off. I am controlling it with my brain. Just kidding. This is done after the fact. I played this about 3 or 4 months ago, and I am doing a commentary on it. Most of the time I'm trying to comment on the game or comment on what we're seeing here, but if anybody who's watched it to this point knows, we are just all over the place in terms of what we talk about. So I was at Wham Bam Island, and we will be going back to that. That was the Headhunter DLC, the Easter Headhunter DLC. And we briefly got into that last time, but now we have jumped into Marcus's Mercenary Day, which is obviously Christmas themed. It's my favorite Headhunter DLC, not least of which because the train at the end, as you will see, is stacked, loaded with wonderful gifts. And it did, as we can see, they are at our level or just under it, so we're getting a decent amount of XP from it, but we're not underpowered, nor are we overpowered. We are precisely how we mean to be. So, and to be honest, I didn't know that this is where I was going to be. I just know I'm not going to tell you where, but we do acquire the Bee in this time, and there will be moments where we don't have it, where we actually equip something else for a brief period before I decide, hey, let's just go ahead and make this playthrough a little more challenging, a little more interesting with by making the Bee our permanent weapon. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, well, anyway, we'll just let it play out there. But as you can see, I'm all dressed up for the occasion. All dressed up, wearing a collared shirt and everything. That's right. Actually, it's because I'm planning to go out after this. And for me, a guy of my age and my social status, let me tell you, that means going to a Korean restaurant or a Korean, I don't even know if it's a restaurant, because some restaurants are like, sit down, they've got nice flatware and everything, and some of them are kind of hole in the wall. Usually those are pretty darn good. I don't know which one this is yet, because I've never been. I just saw they have gimbap or kimbap, depending on your, apparently they're interchangeable. Kimbap is the romanized, it's not romanticized, but it's like romanized. I don't know, maybe it's the phonetic spelling. Anyway, it's kind of like sushi, but it's beef and it's cooked, and so it's nothing like sushi, but it comes in rolls, and it's very delicious. And I was in Indiana for 3-4 years, and I was only able to find one restaurant that offered it, at least through DoorDash, to be fair, and they stopped offering it the day after I ordered it. I was like, oh, that was actually really good. I'd like to get some more of that, and couldn't find it. So here in Texas, I went and did my due diligence, and about 4 miles away, there is a nice, well-reviewed Korean place that they have a variety of. Usually it's under appetizers. You got your spring rolls, your egg rolls, dumplings, and if they have it, and if it's the Korean persuasion, they'll have a gimbap that you can. But this one actually has multiple varieties. And it's coming off of a 21-day fast, but a liquid fast that's a little more flexible than typical fast. Like typically if you fast hardcore, just nothing but water or very basic liquids, you have to wean yourself back with like broth and a little bit of vegetables and a little bit of carbohydrates here and there. And it's like takes you 3 weeks to get back into normal eating habits, unless you want to just destroy your body and possibly even put yourself in the hospital. But because I've been actually eating beef or having beef broth, chicken broth, bone marrow broth, or whatever as part of my fast, I think my system's a little ready to take it. I'm not ready to handle bulgogi, which is beef barbecue, Korean beef barbecue, but I think I can handle a few rolls of gimbap spread out over a few times. So anyway, I'm very excited, and I haven't driven my car in since we got here, so about a month. I just haven't gone out. I haven't needed to go out. So yeah, so I just want to make sure it still runs, make sure the battery isn't just dying on us. So yeah, so that is my plan. Gonna go out and get some stuff, and I wanted to go ahead and dress up because why not? I've been wearing muscle shirts. Well, not muscle shirts, whatever you call those. The sleeveless shirts and like for playing basketball and gym shorts, really, pretty much every day. So I'm very excited, but it also happens to coincide with the celebration of the acquisition of the Bee Shield and the beginning of what this playthrough really is all about. And folks, look, I'm way overhyping it. I know I am. It's not that big of a deal. It's not some magical thing. I did check in advance, and I do actually zoom, because you can actually, anytime you get a weapon, you can actually zoom in on it and kind of look at it from all the different angles and everything. Usually a waste of time, but I actually do that for some reason with the Bee. I'm like, ooh, because it's a legendary. I guess that's why I did it at the time. Again, not really realizing I was going to play through with it. And so then we start using it. But it will be, because I've hyped it up so much, because the series is called Me and the Bee, it is going to be underwhelming for most of you. That's all I got. I wanted to say but or and, but no, that's about it. It's going to be underwhelming. But still, it's what the series is named after, and I'm excited because it is an exciting way to play the game. And yeah, that's it. So we'll be getting to that shortly. But yeah, Marcus the Mercenary. The music is really cool. They do, when things get amped up. I'm trying to think. It's actually, what is it? God rest, nothing you dismay. Remember, tidings of comfort and joy. What is that called? Comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. I can't remember what that song is called. Oh, rest ye, or something, merry gentlemen. I don't know. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. It's a Christmas carol. But I found it interesting because it's not something that you would necessarily think of. Like I would think, what is it called? It's called, gosh. I can't remember the actual name of it. It begins with an S, and it's a very difficult word to pronounce. But oh, come on. Now I can't even remember I think it's the one that, I think it's AC/DC or Megadeth did a cover of. Oh, gosh. Wow. I'm sorry, folks. I should have done I didn't know I was going to be talking about this. I really had no idea. It's like Schmeldrick, and it's Carol of the Bells. That's what it is. That's what we know it as. But the actual song is something completely different. The lyrics are different. There's actually a YouTuber, I can't remember her name, but she actually does a beautiful rendition of it. And she's actually, I think it's originally from Ukraine or Prague. One of those, and that Prague may be in Ukraine. I don't know geography, folks. If you're new to this channel, you just know I suck at geography. But it's somewhere in like Eastern Europe, I believe, or Western Europe. It's in Europe. We'll distill it down there. But anyway, I think that's her home country, and so she knows it. And it's called something like Schmeldrick or Schmalioic or something. And I think it has to do with birds, actually, instead of bells. But that's a really good one, as we've heard. Like I said, Megadeth did a cover of it. It actually sounds really cool with anyway, I'd like something like that would be, you would think for a game like Borderlands, that would be what they go with. The God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, or whatever that song is called, took me by surprise, but it actually, they put it to good use. It really sounds good in this. So it makes me wonder, like, how, like, just, a lot of times when these game studios develop music, like something like this, is one thing, okay, hey, just write a song, write a score for this, this part of the game. That's one thing. But to say, okay, we want to take a known Christmas theme and adapt it to Borderlands. Hang on a second. Love that button. What determines, like, do they just make a list and it's like, okay, does Jingle Bells work? Okay, not really. It's really interesting when it comes to music because, again, the dun 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 dun, the Carol of the Bells, that song, even though it is considered a Christmas song, it does have an edge to it. It has, I don't know how to describe it, but there's something somewhat surreal about it. I don't know how to describe it. I wish I could put it into better words. But like there are some songs that can sound tender. Like you have your rock ballads, that are obviously like this energetic, like love is awesome, which they're cool. And then you have your like John Mayer kind of guitar strumming, like, oh, isn't love just kind of like a happy thing that you want to do, which is also fine. But in certain scenes. But then you have those songs that are just, they're tender. They evoke, they're almost, they're tapping into the longing aspect of love, the aching, the yearning. Did I just say yearning twice? I don't know. Anyway, and there's a tender feel to it, and so it reframes it. There's certain songs that, at least in if you're showing a romantic scene, you want to make sure you've got the right one of those three. If it's got energy, if the guy's going after the girl, he's not chasing her down, but it's like, oh my gosh, I screwed up, or oh hey, I just had a revelation, I realized that I love you, and then you want to be playing the monster ballad, or I'm gonna keep on loving you from Rio Speedwagon. And if they're on a date, if you're showing a date montage, you might want to have the more poppy John Mayer type songs. I'm sure there's probably a more relevant artist that works for that, but it's been a long time since I've really paid attention to music. But then you also have the tender ones where it's like, okay, there's the affection, there's they're connecting intimately for the first time, and I mean with relational intimacy, not necessarily physical intimacy, but relational intimacy, and there's a vulnerability there, and usually it's coming after a long period of being apart, whether that was because they're separated by circumstance, or because they didn't like each other to begin with, and now they're finally realizing it. But there's a tenderness to it. So so these are things that I've thought about. These are types of music that I've thought about, and I can kind of quantify, I can kind of parse them out. But something like Carol of the Bells, it's like what I remember it distinctly from the Santa Claus with Tim Allen, and because they played that during when we first started seeing elves, when they first start introducing the mystical aspect of the movie, the idea of there being a Santa Claus, of there being a North Pole, of there being this entire existence in a mystical or mythical or supernatural type realm or dimension. They're playing this song, and it seemed to really fit that deal. It really. So that's the train that we are going to be able to loot a little bit later on. But I guess we're not looting it technically. Then it's being given to us. But because it's Borderlands, we're going to call it looting, because it's a loot and shoot. That's what this genre is called. So anyway, I don't know, but it's interesting that so you don't. But I think there's untapped potential in some of these songs, like this one. I never would have thought that song, whatever it's called, that they use in Borderlands, would never have thought that would work as kind of like an action in the snow type song, but it does. So you just wonder, did they workshop that? Did somebody just say, hey, just use this song? I don't know. I'm curious about the development of music, but just how appropriate it is. Like this one has a very, I don't know. It's really hard to put in words, and that's one of the great things about music. That's why songs are so amazing, because you have lyrics that you can literally put your words to. You can actually express thoughts in a concrete way, even if they are abstract concepts. You're at least able to define them, and so when you read the lyrics, you can say, "Oh, this evokes a certain emotion." Music is amazing because and especially like songs where it pairs music with the lyrics, because that's the part you really can't explain. You can't really put your finger on. You just go, that evokes something in me. It evokes a certain feeling in me, and I don't know why. And that's the wonderful thing about musicians, is they can communicate something that they're feeling by replicating, by creating a song that evokes those feelings as well. It's like a heart transplant. I've said that before. It sounds kind of cheesy to say, I know, but it is. It's very much like a heart transplant, where you're able to impart a small part of your experience, or where you're at emotionally, or how you're thinking about something through music, in a way that you just can't do with words. Because again, words it's a little more cerebral. It's a little less of emotion. Unless, you get some poems that really just, the way they phrase a certain concept, the way the words play with each other, especially if it's a well done rhyme scheme. There's the ABAB rhyme scheme, which can be a little repetitive and more Dr. Seussy. which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's more of a sing-song. It's more childlike in its presentation, whereas if you have, sonnets, for example, slightly more, it's not super complex, but it's a little bit more complex and more, I like the combination of free verse and rhyme, where and I've been able to do it a few times where I'm free versing, where I'm just writing what's on my mind and it just so happens to rhyme, or with just a little finesse, I can make it rhyme. Like if I swap out a word that means the same thing, it actually rhymes. So it's almost like an effortless, but it's not adhering to a rhyme scheme. It's not adhering to a pattern, a da 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 da. It's just there, and so it makes the rhyme just kind of a beautiful accent to it. It makes the sentence more, well, I was going to say poetic, but more impactful because it happens to rhyme, but it's not orchestrated that way. And I think that also adds to it, where when something rhymes, it's constructed, it's done with intention. Farewell, Salvador. We'll see you again momentarily. You know that there was intention behind it, that they crafted these sentences and phrases in order to get the rhyme out of them. Whereas free verse, and there's some free verse where I'm like, it's pretty much just, it's prose, but it's indented, or it's, they just cut the sentences in half. Like, so there's sometimes where it doesn't feel very poetic. It doesn't seem very poetic. It just seems like I wrote stuff and I just, because of how I formatted it, I'm calling it poetry. So there needs to be some flow to it, some way of communicating in it that isn't just prose. But I guess that's subjective, isn't it? So we all have our preferences, but I like that, and I think those kind of free verse with incidental rhymes in key places can somewhat mimic what you get in a song if they're done right, if they turn out right. But even then, I think music is much easier to. It's better for it, but it's much harder to do, and it's a smaller group of people that can actually effectively pull it off. But it's cool because like a lot of times when you feel something when you listen to a song, like you can be fairly certain that this is what the composer wanted you to feel at this time. It's not like you're hearing something and going, oh, like I think there's a murderer in the room, but it's supposed to be a love scene, or vice versa. There's a very distinct edge to the song. I think of it like a sword. It's like it's trying to incise. And so the blade, the general song is really big, but then there's parts of it, the chorus, or if there's no words, the hook, the loop, the kind of the theme is that fine edge that just slices and you just, that's it gets me right there. It makes me think of amazing things. It makes me think of legendary things, or it makes me think of very comfortable things. I don't know. Anyway, I have gone way too long about something I know so very little of. And all because that is the sound. And granted, there's not a lot going on here. We got, essentially, the theme here, the story is, what is the theme, actually? The story. We're trying to get Marcus's guns back. He's got the train got waylaid by bandits, and then while we're trying to get it back, Mr. Snowman, or whatever his name is, we'll see him in a minute here, or shortly.
The giant snowman who froze our town won't take kindly to your saving
Giant
us.
snowman.
We've nothing to pay with, but could your vault
Frosty.
friend kill him for us?
Yeah, I guess. False Hunter, track down the giant snowman and kill him. It'll be a mercenary day gift to Gingerton.
See, there we go. Okay, perfect timing. I would like to say that I planned it that way, but it just got it was serendipitous. So that's our twist. Our change is that the snowman has come alive. Frosty, the snowman, has come alive, and that's why we were getting attacked by little snowmen. And so now, even though our initial goal was to retrieve the guns for Marcus, now our goal is to kill the snowman, and there's something we were going to. I think we're going to take the guns we got paid for the guns already. We were going to take them. And I don't know. It was going to be some shady nonsense that Marcus is known for, or that you would expect from Marcus. But then he softens up. He's our Scrooge kind of character, and he softens up, and he's like, okay, it's, as he said, it'll be a mercenary day miracle. So that's it. So it's a very thin plot, but I mean, it's Headhunter. It's really not meant to really do too much. It's really just what basic story can we try to tell that excuses a holiday theme where we shoot guns, and I think it did a great job. You know, some of these brainstorm sessions, sometimes creatively, when you see some stuff and you see it come out, you go, wow, really? They had a room where they met and said, hey, let's come up with a good idea or a serviceable idea, and this is what we get. And you're like, oh gosh. But in times like this, you go, hey, okay, I get it. I appreciate what they were able to come up with in order to facilitate a Christmas type thing and work things in. We had like a Tiny Tim character, but I don't think he was called Tim. I wasn't paying attention there either. But, you know, Tiny Tim, very tiny Tim, actually. He's like a very tiny person. He's not even like he's a child, but he's like a very tiny child. He's like a mini statue type of child.
What are you doing? Get away from the lake. I
Oh.
just want to be left alone so I can kill everybody after you leave.
Sorry, I misspoke. I was going to say, I didn't think his name was Frosty. That would be a bit on the nose. So, Tinder... Swipe right. I don't know. Goodness gracious. Tinder... Well, we'll see his name. Tinder Snowflake. There you go. I just read it. That's...
Where the frozen behemoth sleeps. You'll need to anger him before he'll wake up. Oh, I've got it.
Little misstep there. He's actually already awake, obviously. But we have to rouse him. You can see his hat down there. I actually never noticed that before. I've always been just looking at the bells. But you can see his hat's there. I think at one time I did watch him actually emerge from there. But it's scary because he comes up from the ground, and if you're not in the right place, you can get jacked up pretty bad. So just grab it and start running. Interestingly enough, too, Tiny Tim, or whatever his name is, isn't wearing a mask in the art there. But then when you actually go to when you meet him in person, as you saw, he has the mask on. So I don't know what's going on there. I guess social distancing, when you're not around, he feels like he can take the mask off. But this was before all that nonsense, so who knows? Long before that. I was in Colorado, I believe, when I first played this. The abominable Mr. Snowflake. Mr. Tinder Snowflake. And you can see he's leveled, he's higher level than us, but not significantly. And yes, this is kind of a cowardly way to do it. I don't know how you're supposed to do it. I don't know if there's a better way to do it. But you can actually, and I'm not doing it here, but yeah, that's kind of the sweet spot. You can actually hide, just stay right there, and really he can't kill you. If you get really unlucky, he does this little lasso thing that can pull you out. You can die here, I guess is my point. You're not invincible, but you are protected from a lot of his major attacks, and you can't get any closer than that. So you see our shield hasn't gone down at all. Unfortunately, I'm not really able to replicate that. And there's the lasso, the wreath lasso. There it is pulling at us. So we took a little bit of damage, but it's nothing significant. That's what I mean. That's why I like this. It's very easy to farm. There we go.
It's the source of his power.
And I remember the first time I did it, for whatever reason, I couldn't reach the hat a few times. So I'm jumping up and down trying to grab it. And I was afraid that he was going to come back to life or get his health bar back. But you see right there, we got a nice bunch of epics. And you get some iridium. I mean, you get a nice little thing just for killing him. It's not a huge payout, but it's a decent one. And then you've got a vending machine right there, so you can get rid of anything that you don't want, which is apparently what we're going to do to make room for the loot train, or the train loot. Can you feel it, folks? Can you feel it? It's coming. It's coming. I crap you not. We are moments away. Oh, my palms are sweaty. Oh, my gosh. It's ridiculous to make such a big deal over this, but hey, you know what? It's fun for me, dagnabbit. Hopefully it's fun for you too. It really does feel like Christmas. But I mean, to be fair, it does kind of make it special. I mean, I guess I spoiled it by saying what I say and by saying what I'm saying now, but it is pretty cool to have a first-time loot result in something like this. So,
Thank you, Vault Hunter.
and here it is. And so you can do this every single time you play through.
Marcus, bless us. Oi, Governor, I've got a problem. I got
And there she is. Oh, go back. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing?
Could you drop them off for me?
It really can be hard because of the way they're organized and just how you can see there's a lot of stuff there. It can be really hard to see if you got a legendary. So I legitimately don't think I saw it at this point. It's like, oh, wait a minute. I saw gold. I saw gold there. What? Oh, there it is, the bee! I gotta get rid of stuff so I have room for it. Boom. And there we go. So yeah, my very first time, I think that's the first time in any playthrough that I've actually opened up the train and gotten a legendary on the very first time.
Hungry. Yay!
I mean, little kids rip too. Look at that. And you don't see that very often. There we go. In all its glory. I think there's a version of it in the third Borderlands. There's not. I don't think it exists in Borderlands 1. But oh yeah, I was trying to just make sure I did not lose. That's a nice thing for inventory maintenance. You can put an X or a star by an item so that you know, okay, this is something I'm going to get rid of, or that this is something I want to hold on to. Just so you don't accidentally sell it. Another nice thing here, unlike a lot of games, if you sell something, you can buy it back for the same price that you sold it for. They don't gouge you on the way back. I know Diablo 2 was really screwy with that. You could sell it, they'd only give you $100 for it, and then they'd sell it back to you for $3,000. It was obnoxious. So if you ever do accidentally sell something, you can just get it back for the same price. But yeah. And so I just was finishing this particular part of the Small Timmy. There we go. He's not Tiny Timmy, he's Small Timmy. So we are now distributing all the toys. But I do apologize if there's any background noise. We're still in the limbo stage, so I do not have my studio just yet, but it'll be nice and quiet once we do get that. But we all gotta share the space. But and this is the first time I'm actually doing this video in advance. Usually I get these done Wednesday night right before I need to post it on Thursday, but I'm actually getting it done earlier in the week because I've got a pretty heavy edit and some freelance work. Finally got some more freelance editing in, and I'll be taking care of that later in the week. So okay, so you see, so our shield is very puny in terms of the stats, and you can see anytime it goes down, we don't have, it's got the, well, yeah, I'll have to make that's why I make myself transparent so you can kind of see a little bit. But once the shield takes a hit, you lose all the effects. But it's an amp shield, modified amp shield. I believe that's what it's called. Where a normal amp shield will allow you, if you have a full shield, you can shoot one shot. Your first shot is going to have amplified damage, and then your shield goes down, and it gradually goes back up. So you're a glass cannon, but it's not the greatest. You get that one, literally the one bullet, and that's it. The Bee is the same effect, but it is, as long as your shield is charged, you have those amp shots. You have the magnified damage per shot. It's a multiplier of like 10 or 20 or something ridiculous. And so yeah, once you take a hit, once your shield is depleted, you lose the effect. And the shield itself is not very robust. But I really like the sound effect. You're not going to be able to hear it as well just because trying to raise the volume just for the few moments you can. But it's got this cool sound effect. I did it perfectly there just now. That's exactly what it sounds like. And you hear this like as you're taking off the damage. It's a cool sound effect. And yeah, those robots would have taken 2 or 3 times the amount of shots to bring down. And so combining that with a sniper rifle, especially the sniper rifle is of a good... There we go. Now that was not an amp shot, that was just a darn good playing on my part. And so ideally you want to be taking cover, and that's where I think there is a little bit of synergy with the sniper rifle, because the sniper rifle, the style of play is keeping yourself out of the line of fire. You're not just charging in. Because unless you can one-shot everything, you're gonna take a hit, and then you're standing in the middle of a crowd and you've got nothing. So always waiting for the shield to recharge, and then hitting them with as much stuff as we can before we take hit. There we go. Shield's already down. So it does, as I've claimed, it does make you very, very fragile and easy to kill. But luckily, with our perk, we regenerate our health as well. That's a big deal for this, for a Gunzerker, I think, just because you are oftentimes getting in the line of fire. And it does get a little bit annoying sometimes, where you're like, okay, I can just plug away at this enemy with my nifty bee shield in play, and then you get cherry-picked or you get poked by some rando somewhere, and it's like, dag nabbit, and then you lose the effect, and you either got to take cover and wait for the shield to regen, or you just got to push through. So it's not an enchanted playthrough, but it's really cool. It's exciting. It's to get like a legendary thing, to see that orange. It's like, ooh, I treasure each and every one, even though some of them are garbage. There are a lot of garbage weapons. And I think they might have even done an adjustment to the bee. I think it was maybe more powerful at one point, and they nerfed it a little bit. Because I remember that was the thing. Just bee shield and like the unkempt herald, and you could just dominate the game. Which we do end up doing. We get our unkempt heralds as well. But I don't think we get those organically. We get them, I deposit them from another playthrough that I did. But yeah, so we are now more or less in the bee. I think it's still going to be a couple episodes before we stick with the bee no matter what, because there are some points where I'm like, okay, this fight's going to get really ugly. I'm not going to be able to keep the shield going, so I might as well just change it to something else. But I mean, that's what makes the game a little bit more challenging. Is okay, this is a less than ideal situation for a shield with very low capacity, and I'm not going to be able to use the effect but for the first 2 shots, and then I'm going to be just chipped away at. But it is the joys of the dynamic playthrough. It's a good word, dynamic. Found myself using that a lot, because it has a very specific, or it has, well, I would say a specific meaning, but I'm trying to think of it connotes very powerful, and it is kind of a buzzword, to be fair. It's like synergy and proactivity, and I don't even know what the buzzwords are, but you know when you hear them, they're just a bunch of fluff. They don't really mean anything. But I think dynamic does have application, and it can be used to just kind of juice up a little bit of what you want to say. So there's a nice dynamic at play here. As I said, we're using primarily the explosive weapon. I think we are getting multiple shots with it. I think it does have a little bit of a spread. But if not, combined with the bee shield, each of those pellets now that already kind of packed a decent punch, now they pack even more. And so you're going to see we are going to take this guy down super... Well, I don't remember, actually. One of the times we take him down, I don't farm him on this video a lot. I might be a couple times just for funsies. But I think he does get me with something before I can completely... I mean, just look at that health bar. Now, see, he didn't get me there, so that was good. And we're going to get a few more shots before he's going to get a hit on us. There you go. So now we lose it. But you saw we were able to take off half his health with almost nothing. And we're at the same level, so it should have taken a little bit longer. But we've pretty much lost the effects for the remainder of the fight, I believe. Which is crazy, though, because you remember, I was in the exact same place on the first time we fought him, and he didn't hit me once. But now that I got the bee shield, know, I can't. Oh, there we go. And get a few more shots. Gets me with the wreath. And like I said, you can tell if you have it based on the sound effects. But yeah, so a much quicker fight. And that's what that gun, I'm pretty sure, is I think it's a rare. So it's not a common. I think it's a rare, and it's a much lower level. So we will... And I'm big on getting the iridium. Some people don't seem to care as much. I like to get that expanded capacity for carrying around weapons and ammo and such. Just one shot at him with my powerful amplified shot. Oh, it's so gratifying. So wonderful. That's it. I got to admit, it's been a while. Like, I haven't had my Xbox subscription in a while, but I think I want to play... go back to playing some Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Because this scratches an itch in a certain way, but Call of Duty, like, and playing, I do domination. That's the only mode I really care for, because it forces, it gives you an objective other than just randomly killing people, and it requires some strategy, and it creates situations and opportunities where, like, you never have to worry about, am I not going to run into somebody? Like, if you are at an objective, you're going to have a gunfight on your hands. Whether you're the attacker or the defender, there's always going to be something exciting going on there. So anyway, I don't know why I'm pitching that, but it's been in my mind. I'm like, I think the Xbox is in a box that I actually have access to. Most of my stuff is still in storage, but I think one of the boxes has my Xbox in it, and so I could hook that up and actually do some of that, which would be a good time. But we shall see. So really, yeah, if you just... He's hungry. I'm hungry too. Very, very happy to have the fast over with, but like I said, I've got to take the next 2 weeks or so to ease myself back in. Maybe not as long, maybe just a week to get my digestive system working properly again. But I also don't want to. I mean, I've lost a good chunk of weight. Not bragging. It's not any discipline of mine. If you are consuming 500 calories a day via juices and broth and whatnot, and you're burning 1,800, and then I go for a walk in the nice, warm sun, you can kind of see, well, I'm not going to point it. Oh, yeah, well, it doesn't matter. You can see it anyway. A pretty significant difference there in the tan line. So I'm trying to ease myself into the sun. I go for, my walk is 2.5 miles, I think. It takes about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And so on the very last end of it, in the last like 5 minutes or so, I take the shirt off to try to decrease the contrast in the tan line. Because that's the problem with the tan line is it adheres to exactly where like a t-shirt would be. So if you wear a shirt like this, it becomes very apparent. If I'm wearing like a sleeveless shirt and it shifts over a little bit, you can see this big, pale stripe. So I'm trying to cook responsibly. And really, I mean, vitamin D is a good thing. I think it's vitamin D. It's a vitamin E. I think it's vitamin D. It's a good thing. So getting 45 minutes or so of sun in general probably is not a bad thing. And then getting a part of my body that has not seen sunlight in 3 years, probably, if not more, it's probably a good idea. But it's a slow bake. It's going to take a while to get there, but. I'm mesmerized by the opening of presents. And I'll say this too. I think this has a special place because they went to extra lengths. Because obviously they're not going to call it Christmas. Mercenary Days is fine, but they went out of their way, and I really appreciate it, to really lean into Christmas imagery. You got the candy canes, the snow, the Christmas trees, the presents. They could have made it more Borderlands and less Christmas, but I appreciate the extra lengths they went to make this feel very holiday, very Christmassy. Because that's my favorite. It's my favorite holiday. It had been for a long time, which is weird. Well, no, it's not weird. What's weird is that I used to like the summertime because my birthday is in the summer. So I used to, it's like you're not in school. It's your birthday. it's great. You know, go play at the pool. You can pretty much go outside any time of day, and it's nice and warm. But then when you get older, and it's like, heat and humidity are not all that fun. So Christmas, well, I always liked Christmas. It became even more enjoyable because I could appreciate the season it was in. And it really is well placed when you think about it. I mean, you're just getting into really in most places. Now here, that's one big downside too. So here I am using, I think it's a conference call or something similar to that. It's a longer shot pellet distribution. And there we go. I'm already out. But you can see it wasn't really doing as much as I was hoping it would do. Because I think because the actual gun, the conference call, it's a legendary and it's got a lot more bite to it. That was just a kind of a vanilla version of it, so it didn't have quite the efficacy that we were hoping for. Don't want to think about where he pulled that snowball from. It looked like he reached behind himself and produced it from somewhere that we're not too thrilled about. And the reload. There we go. So you can hear a little bit of that sound effect. Like I said, I'm not bumping up the volume. I'm gonna try to have. I think the mix was a little bit light on the background music and the game, so I'm gonna try to ramp it up a little bit because the game is the star of the video. I'm just kind of here for the ride and to give you a little something to focus on other than the gameplay, because the gameplay is not going to blow your socks off. You're not going to look at this and be like, whoa, this guy's amazing. Whoa, that snail is fast. Anybody gets that reference? If you have kudos for me, put it in the comments there. Whoa, that snail is fast. You can probably type that in there and it's in Google and it'll actually tell you exactly what it's from. But if you can figure it out without that, if you've actually seen it, then kudos. It's a fun little movie. Preposterous in some ways, but still a lot of fun. No, it really wasn't, Salvador. You're absolutely right. But that's because you've got the bee shield, my friend. As in, be awesome. I came up with that one myself. All right, I'm really hoping, because I haven't skipped ahead, I'm really hoping we do not farm this again, because I think that would get very boring for you to watch. But yeah, I mean, because I got a legendary on the first try. Why am I hanging around? I mean, it's kind of greedy. It's like, okay, well, and that's the thing. It's just like gambling in general. Fortunately, there's no expense involved in this, but that's the danger of gambling. Example, you or in general, if you have success, you're like, well, shoot, it must be my lucky day. Let's ride this out, and then you find out very quickly it's not your lucky day. I can't say that from experience. The only time I gambled, the one time, well, okay. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Back in elementary school, I think it was third or fourth grade, we had, I don't think they do this anymore, but we had little cardboard versions of change, of pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, for math, in order to learn counting money and how much money is worth what and all that good stuff. And I mean, they were really kind of cool. They had a really smooth texture to them. They were pretty rigid, so they were cardboard, but they weren't like chunky cardboard. They were really cool. Anyway, and so during recess one time, we weren't able to go outside because it was raining. So we had brought out like games, and there was like a little toy stash that we had. I think there was like an Ewok village of all things, like a little Ewok tree village. Really cool teachers. Anyway, one of the guys, Adrian, I'm not going to tell his last name, but you know who you are. Andrew and Adrian. But they brought playing cards. And there was kind of one of those bigger kind of fold out tables. And okay, so we are losing a little bit. This is a problem with OBS. Oh, wait a minute. Is that from this? No. When you use application audio beta, which is not available on Mac, it's only available on PC. When you use it, if you're on Windows 10 especially, if you haven't upgraded to 11, and after about an hour or so, you can start getting really patchy, stuttery audio for some reason, which is why now I record desktop audio instead, because it's just cleaner. But it is there is an episode, I think, where the audio goes to complete crap, and I'm just gonna have to mute that. But it sounded like it was crackling for a second there, but we've recovered. Anyway, So we're under we go into this table, and it's, all cozy, and ooh, we're under the table. I mean, anybody can see us. It's not like there's a tablecloth on it. You can see us there, but it was just kind of like we had sequestered ourselves. There were like 4 of us. And I have no idea what the heck is going on. I just know I'm sitting with the cool kids, and we're going to do stuff. So he gives us all like 4 cards each, I think. I don't remember the number. And we each get a little pile of this fake cardboard money. And then, honestly, because I don't know what the heck I'm doing, they're like, okay, what do you have? Everybody, what do you have? So it wasn't even like proper poker from what I can recall. And I didn't even know, I didn't know what the hands were called. I didn't know about flushes or anything. So I was actually just showing people my cards, like, is this good? And based on that, everybody would show the cards. And Andrew, who apparently was the only one who knew what he was doing, would be like, okay, you give your money to this person, you give this person. I mean, it was the loosest, weirdest, not gambling ever, but because it was fake money that none of us were going to keep, but because it had the appearance of gambling, all of us got detention for gambling. The only time I've ever gotten detention in my entire life was for gambling with fake money during recess and not even knowing about it. And I remember my mother was, I'm not going to say furious. She was not happy because, it was detention. We had the letter come home. It was like, your son's going to have to stay late on this day because of gambling. And mom was like, what are you doing? Why are you gambling? And I'm like, I don't know what gambling is. I really had no concept of what was going on. I did not know what the term meant. So it was actually kind of educational because in my school, if you got detention, whatever rule you broke, they had something called a code of behavior. And whatever rule in the code of behavior you broke, detention was you sitting there for, I think it was an hour and a half or something, and writing out that section that you violated as kind of like a, remember this, don't forget this, that you're not allowed to do this. This is the rule. So it was actually an educational punishment because I was able to learn what gambling was. And I still didn't really understand it, but it was funny just having to convince my mom, yeah, I did this thing, but I don't know what I did. I didn't know there was anything wrong with it. And I just showed them my cards and they took pennies away and gave me pennies. I don't know what the heck is going on. And I think the school understood that because when I did go in for detention, I was only there for like 15 minutes, if that. I wrote down 2 or 3 times, maybe the little paragraph about gambling. And they're like, okay, you can go home. So, I got the Good Citizenship Award, which was something, I think came out every grade period, which I think there's 4 of them. If I remember correctly, it was like every 3 months you got a report card. But I always had great marks in that. I was always well behaved and everything. So it was like an anomaly. But yeah, other than getting the detention once, and I got a check mark. We had a lunch lady named Miss Scally. And she was, I don't know where she was from, but she wasn't like it looked like, I think she had come here from somewhere else. But she's like, you get a checkamaka. Anyway, she was nice, but she was very strict. And there was, the whole thing, like the volume, I don't know, it seemed arbitrary, but like if the lunchroom got too loud, she would blow her whistle and pipe down, you all, stop talking, quiet down. And then if it really got too loud, she'd blow the whistle and say, okay, no more talking for the rest of the time. And if you talked, you got a checkamaka. And I got a check mark for some kid was like, hey, what do you bring for lunch? She was asking me about something that I was eating or asking for something. And I responded saying essentially like, we're not allowed to talk, something like that. But he turned around just as I was saying that to him. So I got the check mark and it devastated me. When I got the detention, when I got the check mark, because I was a good kid. So getting those demerits was a big deal, and it made me feel horrible. Like it felt like a villain. So I guess we are farming this again. Hopefully we're not doing this again. But yeah, I think I got greedy. I was like, I had a legendary, I can get another one. But I do farm this, I believe, after this episode. And I go through 3 more times, and I think that's when I end up with the volcano. So I think next episode we will have the legendary sniper rifle to pair with our bee, and that is what we're going to use primarily moving forward. Okay, yep, no, the sound definitely is taking. The problem is you really can't hear it. It doesn't sound bad when you're actually playing, but when you play it back or afterward, it's definitely crackling and popping. So. Hi, vey. 'tis what it is. And sometimes it'll it'll stop on its own. But it takes a little while. So yeah, hopefully I'll remember to do this in the edit and bring the volume down right here. And since we're no longer in the happy Christmas time, the music isn't quite as exciting or fun. But yeah, we just jumping back into the quest. I think we go Wham Bam Island. I know we beat Wham Bam Island in this. We beat all 4 Headhunter DLCs. We beat Captain Scarlet and her Pirate's Booty. We beat Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. Those are all the things that we are going to beat. We've already done. So we just finished Marcus's Mercenary Day. We've done the Halloween version, the Great Pumpkin or whatever it was called. We killed the Gobbler. And so we've got the, I think it's like a St. Patrick's Day / Valentine's Day mix. I guess that's the best way to describe it. We've got that one still outstanding, and Wham Bam Island. And this is always fun. I mean, you can see that's how much I played it on this particular. Like I said, I played it on every system that I've had. But you can see when you got these stats up at like 11, and like after, I think it's the first 2 or 3 updates, everything is like a 0.1% upgrade or something. I've sunk a lot of time into these characters, and I like the fact that it rolls over. That you don't have to play it with each character. That you can start with a character and it's going to be stronger than the baseline because you've got these extra stats, 10% in some cases, faster reload speed and those sorts of things. So they did a good job of making it of rewarding you for coming back and playing again. Whereas if you had to start from scratch with every single character, but here you get to transfer weapons and get to continue to have a very minimal, a lower impact, but a cumulative effect or reward for playing with multiple playthroughs. Really makes me wish they could have done more DLCs. Like once you that's a bummer. Once you get leveled up to a certain point, you're just doing more of the same. It doesn't really feel like you're.
You'll have to signal our man. I bet anything he's sleeping off a hangover, so you'll have to wait.
All right, the stuttering isn't the worst. It does get in one episode. It definitely gets worse. This is manageable, especially if I keep the volume lower. But yeah, and there I just believe he said in order to wake up Marcus. Wait, is Marcus? No, Mordecai. In order to wake him up, he's sleeping. In order to wake him up, we have to fry some Varkids with a fire weapon, and I think I got rid of every fire weapon I have. So there are ways to do it, and you are going to see we're going to use some creativity to light them on fire without a fire weapon, but it's a longer burn, if you'll forgive the expression. So, and yeah, pretty much all this stuff. Now, granted, they are level 15. We're level 18, so we'd be one-shotting these things anyway. Anytime you have a creature anything that gives you less than 100 XP, they're underpowered. I think that's kind of a good rule of thumb. But we will be encountering very quickly the levels of the enemies are going to scale up on us, and so you will be seeing the efficacy of the bee against higher-powered beings. Oh, lost it. And honestly, because I haven't had to do it, yeah, I kind of had to. That's a way you can light them on fire. I just didn't remember how that worked. It's a very interesting thing just to have these giant flame-spewing devices just perched precariously. Yes, I know, Roland, I know. But I don't have a fire weapon, so I got to do what I can do. And try not to get barbecued at the same time. Failure! Failure. Oh, right, okay. I was like, wait a minute, how did I get everything back? Okay, it was a level up there. I mean, there is something satisfying. Even if it's a weaker enemy, it's very satisfying to just one-shot stuff. There we go. And that's how we were able to wake it up, even though we did not have our fire weapon. Little Lord of the Rings-esque. Well, I guess Lord of the Rings, they spiral up it, but it kind of has that feel going into the...
So loud. So angry. So dead.
Good old Mordecai. And Bloodwing. Bloodwing is a nice flourish, is a nice detail, but was absolute garbage as a support. I think I mentioned before, the first time I played this, I used Mordecai and I had Bloodwing, and I was like, man, I must suck at this game, because every time I'd trigger him, send him off to kill something, nothing would happen. I was like, man, I'm not even doing my special right. Or if this is how good specials are, I might as well not even bother. But then I find out that everybody has a much better special than what Bloodwing was.
Key itself might be on board. My advice? Do what I do. Steal the key, get drunk, pass out.
Well, we will do part of that. Although I do believe I continued to be inebriated for most of this playthrough. Not wasted. I'm not a fan of getting drunk. I like to have a buzz.
My old friend Tina can help.
And I think, if I recall correctly, I've got a happy buzz going on at this point. It just makes things more enjoyable. Things that, something like this, you may have played a million times, or a movie that you've watched a million times. It can make it enjoyable if you're just kind of in a chill state. It's like, I don't care what I'm doing right now. Whatever I do is going to be all right because I'm just chilling. So I think that was my frame of mind. But alcohol does not sit well with me either from a weight standpoint. Like the worst I ever got, which was, I believe, around 250, just shy of 250, was when I wouldn't say I experimented with alcohol for the first time, but the first time I kind of bought some liqueur and was like, let me see what this drinking is all about. And it was like, I've drank a whole bottle of this at this point and it still doesn't taste good, so I'm not going to get this anymore. Or, oh, you know what? This is a drink that I can order when I go out. But I do like liqueurs versus like a beer. But either way, they're empty calories. But the liqueur makes it worse because it's like sugar and calories at the same time. So it's devastating to the old body. Definitely gets some.
All around the stack, this plant, the stalker chased a bandit. The stalker thought 'twas all in fun. Pop! Goes the bandit. Oh, hi!
Y'all, so we'd mentioned this before. Tiny Tina is definitely slightly unhinged, but understandable. Again, I think it's very hard to grow up in a world like Pandora, in a game like Borderlands, and not be a little off. Somebody who isn't, you kind of would be like, what's going on? This is kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like Lord of the Flies. You got some people, when they're left to their own devices, they'll be good. They'll try to maintain order. They'll try to be productive. And then some people just go absolutely crazy. And then you got characters like Tiny Tina that's kind of in the mix, in the middle. She's functional. She's not absolutely deranged. She's not maniacal or homicidal per se, but she is, she's a demo expert. So she is,
This here's Mushy Snuggle Bites, and this is Felicia's Sexo Pants. These fine-ass women could stop that train for you, but I'm gonna need their badonkadonks first, and they got stolen by the bandits a few days ago. Go get them!
a disturbing, perhaps, amount of sexual illusions for somebody who's 13 years old. But again, it's Pandora. It's not an excuse per se, but it is, like, it's really hard when you see the amount of degeneracy in this game. Oh, and that's my cue. We're done. I hope you enjoyed the Bee, and we will get back into it next time. See you then.